Oh, right, guys. Today we are gonna be reacting to Maultaschen, a Swabian dumpling. Man, I love these ones. I love these when it comes down to dumpling stuff like that. I love them. Make sure you like to subscribe, like guys. Let's jump in. Let's see.
Sometimes look out of your roof window at night and see the moon rise majestically over the horizon, wondering if you should make German Maultaschen from scratch. Well, if you do, you've come to the right video. Also, I just wanted to show you this cool video I recorded. Right, so Maultaschen literally translates to mouth pockets. Well, more like muscle, chop, or yap
it's like a ravioli,
pockets.
right?
They are essentially
So basically, it's like a big ravioli.
Swabian dumplings. There is another name, Herrgottspscheißerle, one word, translating roughly to little god cheaters. According to Swabian lore, these little pockets were used during fasting to hide the then forbidden meat from God's eyes. My wife and I never made Maultaschen, even though I lived for several years in Swabia. Actually, I lived all over Swabia, and I really miss the cuisine. Today we decided to make some Maultaschen from scratch. And what better opportunity to make a video about it if you've never done it before. Heck, at least I can share some lessons learned. I scoured my cooking books and found everyone makes them just a teeny bit
this
different.
Guy. I was gonna say also that this guy's smart. This guy's smart. I was listening to some details that he might be out there, you know, he might be out there. He's a smart guy, man. He's a very smart guy.
Decided to combine everything, but base it mainly on the late Siegfried Rohr's recipe, who was Swabian as it gets, and has written 20-something books, both on Swabia, the people, and its cuisine. We'll begin by preparing the pasta dough, since it has to rest for about an hour. It's a regular egg-based pasta dough, with the exception of some added oil. We measured about 300 grams of flour and sifted it into a mixing bowl. Then added 3 eggs, one for every 100 grams of flour, and a tablespoon of olive oil. About half of a teaspoon of salt finishes off this simple recipe. Now it's time to knead. I told my wife I usually do it by hand, and she wanted me to explicitly note in this script that she would usually start by mixing the pasta dough with a hand mixer before going in with bare hands. Since you know the dough starts rather sticky. Noted. Once the dough is kneaded well, cover it and let it rest and relax at room temperature for about an hour. Meanwhile, you can run to the store around the corner and get the onions and white bread because you totally forgot those. Okay, welcome back. Now it's time for the other ingredients. I thought buying ground meat was too mainstream and had bought some pork neck. Neck of pork? This thing. It's great because it has a balance of fat and meat. Great for throwing on the grill too, by the way. I cubed the meat and used the smallest grinder plate and got pretty decent looking ground pork. You can of course buy ground meat, half beef or just pork is fine. Next I cut the white bread. Usually you will use day-old rolls here in Germania, but who has that in the rest of the world? Then pour some warm milk over it and let it soak.
Warm milk.
Now we can finally look at all the ingredients that make up the filling.
Bro,
and as always,
yeah, that's a lot. That's even nutmeg there. Nutmeg there, like damn. It looks good. It looks good. I don't know that this fat right here, this bacon looks fake. Well, it looks fake because I never really cut the bacon like a bacon like this. I never cut the bacon like this from scratch. I always buy my bacon like already made. So
if you're playing along, check the description for the exact amounts. A nice bunch of spinach and a bunch of parsley. You can use frozen spinach, that works fine. Our ground meat and the soaking bread pieces. Left to right again. 2 eggs, a beautiful piece of smoked bacon, 2 shallots or onions,
bacon,
nutmeg, salt and pepper. Now let's do our prep work. Everything needs to be cut as fine as possible, so it comes together later. Starting with the shallots, cut them into small cubes, then the bacon. And here I should have cut it even finer, about half of the size that is shown. Really? Or let my wife do it, who has more patience. Speaking of which, if you are using fresh spinach, you'll need to sort it. Cut off the stems, wash it and chop it. So you know, you should really use the frozen one. But
yeah,
I wanted to give it a
I was about to say. Didn't you just say to use the if you could use the frozen one to use them? If you prefer them, yeah, just go with that. There's nothing wrong with that. The frozen, I think it's not the frozen. The one that come into a package. I don't think the frozen one is the right word. Like the one that comes in packages.
try. While my wife is washing the spinach, I quickly chopped some parsley, and this time I did it properly, to the right size. Back to my wife chopping the spinach into fine ribbons. It doesn't have to be super fine, just like that. Over at the stove, a large pan is set to high heat and the bacon is added. You don't want to fry the bacon too long, just let it lose some fat before adding the shallots and fry those until they are glassy. Then add the parsley. In the spinach goes. And then you can place a lid on the pan. The spinach is going to shrinkify pretty quickly. And once it has done that, for a couple of seconds, the pan can be removed from the stove and cool down. Okay, once that has cooled down a little, we can combine all the ingredients in a mixing bowl. And I just went in there with my bare hands. While I was doing that, I thought you could probably use a food processor and blitz it to get a more uniform mass. But I like this raw approach better. And the book said to do it like this. If you buy a Maultaschen at the store,
I would say
have a finer,
so I'm guessing you want to mold that homogeneous kind of texture. Like it's all together, but it's homogeneous.
Homogeneous filling.
Homogeneous.
Since that is probably easier for processing at the factory. Once you get your filling ready, it's time to prepare the dough. And boy, if you have a pasta machine, use that. Because hand rolling that dough isn't much fun.
It's hard.
And
it's
you
hard.
need a lot of space. I tried to get it as thin as possible, but realistically I should have reduced the thickness even more. I'd say go for about 2 millimeters. If you can get it to 1, it'll be even better. Now you will either need to cut it into 10 by 15 centimeter rectangles like we did, or you will cut it into longer bands and cut after placing down the filling and folding over. After we cut it into rectangles, we used some egg whites to make sort of a glue border around them. You can apparently also use just water, but we weren't taking any chances that the pockets open while boiling. Next, we placed down a nice blob of filling on the lower half of each rectangle and then folded the pockets closed. Now you might notice that these aren't perfect, and each one is kind of another size, even if you pretended to use a ruler to make the cuts. But I think that's okay.
Yeah,
it has its own charm.
I think he did a very good job, right?
And I'm just talking so much here, so I've got enough time to show the folding process. I mean, I could just shut up and let the music play or something.
No,
but I kind of
talk.
started
like
this whole thing where I
like
try to keep the videos as compact as possible without any downtime. So I'm in a bit of a pickle here. Thank God she's done. Great. Now we need to prepare some salt water and set it to medium heat. It shouldn't have a rolling boil, just a bit of a simmer. Once the water is ready, we can gently place the Maultaschen with a skimmer in it. Then they need to cook for about 10 minutes. Don't overcrowd the pot, work in batches. Meanwhile, I prepared the onions, and I just used a large piece of butter in a way too small pan. Added the sliced onions and gave them a fry, stirring occasionally. Once they started to separate and lose some water, I added 2 pinches of sugar, salt, and a bit later a touch
that sugar
of flour.
caught me off
Finally,
guard, huh?
I gave them a
That sugar caught me off guard. Let me just go back to that.
stirring occasionally. Once they started to separate and lose some water, I added 2 pinches of sugar, salt, and a bit later a touch of flour. Finally, I gave them a pinch of paprika powder. Next, I had to make just a bit of a stock concoction to add to the Maultaschen. I used some leftover beef stock and added a touch of soy sauce. I know, not very traditional, but I needed to get it to have a bit more oomph, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
I didn't film that since my camera was on the Maultaschen. Boy, what an adventure. But now everything is ready to plate up. I added 2 Maultaschen to the plate, drizzled some of the stock over them and added the onions. I kind of overexposed the image here, sorry. Then, as is tradition, I sprinkled some chopped chives over it, which were young and a bit thin, but tasty. Okay, here is a better exposed shot. I also added cress leaves to make it a bit fancy looking and add just a bit of extra flavor. So while these Maultaschen might not look perfect, they were amazingly tasty. The dough was a bit too thick, so next time I'm going to roll it out even thinner or buy a pasta machine. So I hope you enjoyed this, and maybe I'll see you next time.
That was nice, huh? That was very nice. That was very nice. Yeah, I think right here.
Of space. I tried to get it as thin as possible, but realistically I should have reduced the thickness
I tried to just really stress because I did both. I did the bread with the gluten free and without, right? And you know, the gluten you have to stretch it. My God, bro, I don't have a roller. So you have to stretch everything by hand. Bro, you know, I'm strong, but it takes, because I done pizza twice already, right? and you stress that gluten, but man, my goodness, you have to really stretch, right? Really stretch. But at the end of the day, it tastes amazing. It tastes amazing. Great recipe. Dumpling. I didn't know how to make dumpling. There we go. Wow, man. It actually gave me some ideas. Let me know what you guys think in the comment section below. I would love to hear you guys' opinion. And let me know if you really tried this before. This looks good. It looks good. Everything fresh. The spinach. Hey, if I try this, I would just basically buy them from the back. They're fresh and from the back. I will do them from the back. I'm not cutting those spinach. It seems like a lot of trouble. But let me know what you guys think. In the meantime, guys, I will see you in the next one. I'm out. Peace.